Assalamu alaikum. Our video today is about the endocrine system, and our first entry is to classify the glands. We have two type of glands in our body. One of them is endocrine glands and exocrine glands. The endocrine gland secrete hormone, and it secrete its products directly to the bloodstream, while the exocrine gland have a duct and produce enzyme and fluid. Hormones are a chemical messenger that are secreted into the bloodstream and stimulate the physiological of cell in another tissue or organ. Now, how can we define the science which study the endocrine gland, which we call it endocrinology? Endocrinology is the science which study of the endocrine system and include the diagnosis and the treatment and its dysfunction. Now, the endocrine system composed of many organs. Some of them are glands, endocrine glands, and also we have endocrine tissue as well as endocrine cells. But in this video we want to explain the anatomy of the master endocrine gland, which include the hypothalamus, the pineal gland, pituitary gland, thymus gland, pancreas, and adrenal gland. Here we see that three of these master endocrine glands located at the brain, which is the hypothalamus, pituitary, and pineal gland. We start with the hypothalamus. You see here that the hypothalamus is located at the brain, and it forms the wall of the brain ventricle. In the brain we have three ventricle which contain the cerebrospinal fluid, and we see that the hypothalamus under the thalamus, so it is hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus secrete many releasing factor and also produce more important two hormone in the body. The first one is the antidiuretic hormone, which control the water balance, and the other is the oxytocin, which have a very important role in delivery or parturition. The second one is the pineal gland. The second one is the pineal gland, and you see here that the pineal gland is cone in shape, and also it's located in the third ventricle of the brain. And this pineal gland produces two hormones. One of them we call it the serotonin, which act at the daylight, and the other is the melatonin, which act at the night. The third one, or the third gland, is the pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland also we can call it the hypophysis, and it is suspended from the hypothalamus by a stalk, and it measured equal to 1.3 centimeter in diameter, but it grow and it reach its larger size in a pregnancy, and it become equal to 50% of its early size. And also here in this slide we see that the pituitary gland is, as I said, suspended from the hypothalamus, and they have two important structure. The first one is the posterior lobe, and the second the anterior lobe. Also the posterior lobe called the neurohypophysis, and the anterior lobe called adenohypophysis. The posterior pituitary lobe store the hormone that produced by the hypothalamus, which are the oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone, while the anterior lobe produced many stimulating hormone which act on other target cell of a gland in other part of the body, like TSH, FSH, LH, growth hormone, and other stimulating hormone. Now, this is the thyroid gland, and as I said before, it's located at the neck, and you see here it turns around the pharynx and the esophagus, as well as here this is the trachea, and histologically it composed of many follicles. This is the follicle which contain the hormones that are produced by itself, which are T3 and T4. And you see in this other slide, we see that here we have the parathyroid cell, which are the cell of the parathyroid gland, and this secrete parathormone which control the calcium level in the body. Now, this is the thymus. You see here, this is located at the mediastinum over the heart. This is the heart, and this is the mediastinum. The thymus gland located at the mediastinum, superior to the heart, and it is large in infant because it is the main immunological organ at infant stage and early childhood, but it become smaller after puberty. And the thymus secrete thymine, which is important for immaturation, the lymphocyte, which these cells produced at bone marrow, but they immaturated here in the thymus. Now you see here, this is the pancreas. This is low-piloted gland, and it's located at the fold of the duodenum. This is the first part of intestine and under the stomach. And the pancreas is mixed gland. It contains endocrine structure. This endocrine structure, pancreatic ion, and this endocrine structure produce two hormones, which are the insulin and glucagon by alpha and beta cell. This is in the Langerhans island. And the other part is the secretory part. This is, and this is secreted product by a duct in the duodenum. It is very important in food digestion. This is the pancreas. The other gland is the adrenal gland, and you see here it rests at the posterior apex of the kidney. This is the kidney to kidney, and this is the adrenal gland. Histologically, we see that the adrenal gland have three histological layers. The first one is the capsule and the cortex, and finally the medulla. The second histological layer have also different layers, have different function. We have the granulosa, which secrete mineralocorticoid, and fasciculata, which secrete glucocorticoid, and reticularis, which secrete adrenal androgen. while the medulla, this is the medulla in the center, and it secrete epinephrine and norepinephrine, or adrenaline and noradrenaline. This is the capsule, and this is the cortex, and this is the dark part is the medulla. Thank you for your listening.